Elon Musk's social media platform X is exposing the truth behind social media accounts across the political spectrum, with account owners apparently misleading followers about where they are posting from. And it's because X has a location feature on it that apparently people didn't know about. Ooh, that sounds juicy. We'll get into that in a moment. But first, might there be some progress made in the peace talks with Russia and Ukraine? Well, let's chat about this. I'm going to be joined here by foreign affairs expert Lisa Daftari. She's the editor-in-chief of the Foreign Desk. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
Okay, great to have you with us. Looking at the Russia-Ukraine war, so U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio claiming a tremendous amount of progress has been made in Ukraine peace talks following the Geneva meeting, and he's hinting at a possible Trump-Zelenskyy phone call as negotiators are
Right.
working to resolve the remaining disputes.
Yes. So, thankfully, we are inching closer and closer to some sort of ceasefire, some sort of strategic off ramp for the two sides. What will it take? A lot of compromise. We know that there is a framework that has been presented to Zelenskyy. That framework, it stems from 28-point ceasefire that is much more in detail that will hopefully be presented to both sides. But for now, it's going to take compromise, right? And we know that it does entail Zelenskyy conceding land to Putin, which is something he did not want to do. It will obviously demand that both sides cease fire, which is literally what it is meant to do. But we will see, because we know that Putin has definitely played many games with the Trump administration for the last 9-10 months that they've been in office. They have attempted to stop this war, have not been able to, have not been successful to bring both sides. But the good news being, Trump has had phone calls, has had conversations with both Zelenskyy and Putin, and now we're closer than ever with Marco Rubio working through the details with Zelenskyy, hopefully to bring both sides together very soon.
Yeah, and these negotiations obviously cannot happen soon enough, Lisa. I mean, just last week, at least 25 people were killed in that nighttime Russian drone and missile attack, and it hit two 9-story apartment blocks in Western Ukraine, and it reportedly burned people alive, including children. Just horrific. And then Russia also fired at least 476 drones and 48 missiles at Ukraine, striking energy and transport infrastructure. And of course, it forced power cuts in several regions and frigid temperatures. So what these Ukrainians are going through, Lisa, is just beyond belief.
Right. And, there's been a horrific number of casualties on both sides, unfortunately, with, Russia losing a lot of its troops as well.
Yeah,
But
of course.
the upsetting part here is that ever since Trump came into office and there have been talks of ceasefire, there have actually been escalations, as you alluded to. So the strikes have actually been more pinpointed, but also more dramatic in nature. Obviously, both sides wanting to send a message to the other. You're dealing with two statesmen, obviously Putin having the experience and not wanting to back down, and being a man who is obsessed with power and land and not giving up and having the upper hand and really sticking it to both Zelenskyy and Trump. And then, of course, Zelenskyy, who has very miraculously been able to sustain this war. And I think that that's the message that the Trump administration is giving Zelenskyy and Putin, but more so towards Zelenskyy, to say, you're not going to win this war. And if we don't give you more resources and weapons and money, you can't even maintain what you have been able to maintain. So you're better off, quitting while you are ahead, as the expression goes. And to Putin to say, if this is what the land that you think you have, amassed, then we can give you X, Y, and Z. But if you don't, then there will be consequences. We will give weapons to Ukraine, and we will obviously continue the very, very damaging sanctions and political isolation that the Russians have faced up to now. So hopefully the United States will be able to broker a deal that allows both sides to realize that this is the end is near, and they are both going to walk away somewhat satisfied with the results. And I know war is never satisfying, but we've gone down this road way too far. And I really applaud the Trump administration for not backing down, because it's been a very difficult, challenging task. President Trump actually admitted to that. He said it's been much harder than we ever anticipated, but we're not going to give up. So we do hope to see an end very, very soon.
Yeah, also hoping to see an end. Last week, we spoke about Nigeria and how there were some armed gunmen. I think they had all kinds of weapons. It looked like stormed into some Catholic schools and kidnapped a number of children. And it sounds like maybe there's an update to that story. Possibly at least 50 of those children have escaped somehow.
Right. And, we got more detail after we spoke last week. The fact that this was another attack on the Christian Catholic community in, that part of the world. There has been such a fixation on these insurgencies, these Islamists, these extremists, focusing and targeting these communities, and not just these communities, but children, students. And the fact that 50 have been able to escape is wonderful news. We hope the rest of them get out of captivity very, very soon. But, I thank you for bringing attention to this. You're not seeing this throughout the mainstream media, and you're not seeing this being reported, but that's what it will take. It will take that kind of commitment. I know Donald Trump has mentioned it many times, but it seems like it's not on the radar of most, the way that the other wars and the other conflicts around the world are. But thank you for doing that, and really looking at this as a thematic conflict, where you do see in the African continent where these Christian communities are being completely targeted, eradicated, really a genocide, if you will, and really no one really talking about it. But this really does deserve front page urgency and news and headlines, and for people to really highlight it so that we can get these people help.
Yeah, no, exactly. We'll move on here, Lisa, to this interesting, juicy social media story. So, X's new location feature has exposed apparent fraudster accounts posing as Americans and Gaza journalists. Now, some of these are popular accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers that have been revealed as overseas operations. So, Lisa, what can you tell us about this?
I could not be more excited about this feature. Look, these are online bullies. These are accounts that are seeking to disrupt. Their bots, right? This is cognitive warfare. They're meant to come online to use social media as a weapon to influence and to change elections and to change people's minds. They have, and the case in point here, which you mentioned, was the Gaza journalists. They have completely shifted the narrative on a complete conflict of the Middle East that has gone on for decades. They have completely shifted that narrative. David and Goliath completely reversed because of these types of accounts and the kinds of narratives and photos and photoshopping and AI and bots and bullying that they're doing. Many of these accounts are America first. And then you look at the location and they're in Bangladesh or Pakistan or wherever they may be, or they are Gaza reporters, pretending to be on the ground, firsthand resources to see what's going on the ground in Gaza, but then they're not even close to Gaza. So this is it's a security and safety feature. I know people will actually push back and say it actually is not safe or secure to disclose people's locations, but in this case it's not very specific. For example, it'll say the United States. It won't say what state you're in. It won't say where you are in Canada, for example. But the fact that we can see, some sort of transparency with these types of accounts is a wonderful thing.
Interesting to see where that's going to go for sure. Lisa, a new report by the Institute for the Study of Global Anti-Semitism and Policy alleges that the Qatar Foundation, which is financed by the country's royal family, has given over $20 billion to American colleges and top institutions as plan of the Muslim Brotherhood to infiltrate the United States to promote its ideology and to destroy democracy from within. Lisa, this is kind of terrifying, and it would be the death of Western culture and the American dream. So what have you heard?
Well, this is absolutely ongoing. It's not something that I've heard. It's something that I've lived through, being a Middle Eastern studies major when I was an undergrad, going to journalism school, obviously going back to teach. and just being really at the front seat of all of this. It's absolutely true. And I know this think tank came out with this, quantified report about this, but we've known about this. Look, the best of universities, the worst of universities, institutions, think tanks have taken checks from the Qataris. And that's because they have lots of money to give. And the Qataris are looking to do two things: obviously, gain access and to spread a certain type of messaging, and also to whitewash their own image as people who care about colleges, to have satellite colleges in Doha, for example. Many fine universities have satellite colleges in Qatar as well. And then these kids go to study abroad, or the Qataris are studying at these universities, and then gaining all kinds of access to information, to research, having the choice of who chairs a department in a university, choosing which students get the scholarships in a university. And of course, we saw the encampment. So a lot of this money is going to extracurricular groups that are doing those kinds of activities on campus. We saw with the encampments over the Palestine-Israel war, just last year. So it's been going on for a very, very long time. But how can we root this out when so much money is involved, and these universities are relying on that money to operate, to have different departments, to have different majors, to hire different professors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be very hard to root out. But I do appreciate the fact that you segued this story with the one before it. This also is cognitive warfare. It goes hand in hand with what we're seeing. This is either state sanctioned or privately sanctioned. It's the same thing as bots and social media accounts. It's using cognitive warfare. It's using information and narrative shifting to really change perception. And you're changing the perception of American students and Canadian students, and they will go on to hold office and to become CEOs and to become journalists like you and I. And this is the narrative that they are learning, and this is the narrative with which they are growing up. So it's very, very serious, very important. Here in the United States, it's not just college, it's also K through 12. So we want to be aware of that as well. It will be very difficult to root out, but I think number one is knowledge, to know about this and to be more savvy when we go online, to be more savvy about what colleges we're sending our kids to. And then for us, we're coming up on Thanksgiving, and you have your college students that these parents are paying so much money to send their kids to these colleges, and the kids come back indoctrinated. They come back to challenge what they have learned from their parents, what they've learned at church, what they've learned, at their own dinner table. So it's a shifting in American culture and politics and family life, for sure.
And it's a plan of the Muslim Brotherhood. And meanwhile, we're hearing Donald Trump is planning to designate Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. Can you tell us more?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that goes hand in hand, obviously, Muslim Brotherhood being this, obviously a terror organization that has not been placed on the foreign terror organization list here in the United States, but that has been able to operate. The last time we heard about Muslim Brotherhood was with the Egyptian Arab Spring. And we thought, okay, now it's done with, because the Egyptians came out and they fought the Muslim Brotherhood, and now all is good. But the Muslim Brotherhood lives on, and it lives on in Qatar and other places in the Middle East where it has had air to breathe, money for funding, and to spread its message globally. And it has taken on an international face that has been very well masked by this academia, intellectualism, geopoliticalism, and obviously spreading its message throughout the world. And here we are. So connect that with the colleges, with the media, with different institutions, different think tanks, taking money from them and being infiltrated and influenced by the Muslim Brotherhood. And Jeanette, I'll tell you, it's not that easy to detect. They don't come out and say, well, all of you have to become Muslim and all of you have to, pledge allegiance to the Muslim Brotherhood. It's not like that at all. They come in, they start changing the talking points, they start changing the maps, they start teaching a different form, they start exuding that kind of anti-Americanism and inserting it into the curriculum, and that's how it begins, and the dominoes begin to fall. And it sounds like I'm a crazy person with these conspiracy theories, but now that these stories and we've been talking about this for years, but now we have quantifiable evidence to show that they are giving the money to these universities and these institutions, and what do they want from that? That's the question we should all be asking. What kind of access do they want, and what kind of access are they getting with giving these very, very hefty checks to these institutions?
Mhm. Lisa Daftari of the Foreign Desk, thanks so much for joining us again today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.